All right, here we go with the next Q&A. This is episode 900 Q&A. We're only going to be doing two more of these, and then maybe I'll do like an end of series Q&A. Well, you know what I mean. Like, probably it'll be back up and running again. They'll be doing new episodes every week by the time I reach that point. Who the hell knows? I don't know what I'm going to do with that, but still have a little bit of time to figure it out. Not as much as I have had in the past, but a little bit of time left to figure it out. All right, so we're going to start with a couple of my posts I did for episode 900 Q&A. If you haven't been checking out check out the community tab. You know, I've always got something going on, a couple jokes, a couple polls, and requests for questions and stuff like that for various Q&As I'm doing. All right, first one is I did a poll and I said, in your opinion, with the information you have up to episode 900, which emperor would kick the other three emperors' asses? Elaborate in the comments with the only information up to 900. And the choices, of course, are the four emperors: Big Mom, Shanks, Blackbeard, and Kadio. Who do you think won? Well, it's pretty obvious. Shanks won. He won with 45% of the vote. I think that's popularity, name, brand. As of episode 900, which is where I am, I've only seen up to episode 900. Shanks has probably had 20 to 30 minutes of original screen time. Now, we're not talking about they replay the same scene 75 times through various flashbacks. I'm talking about original material. He's probably had less than 30 minutes. I mean, because we have the stuff when Luffy was a kid. He has a scene, I think, with Whitebeard or maybe Whitebeard's minions. I can't remember. He may have showed up on Whitebeard's ship at one point and talked to him. I can't remember if it was, or if maybe it was via somebody else. But we had a couple scenes leading up to the Whitebeard fight. He shows up for a minute or two in Marineford, and then I think we've gotten a couple more scenes with him, and that's it. I mean, 20 minutes may be more. It may be more 20 minutes than 30 minutes. I know he got quite a few scenes in Luffy's childhood, where Luffy eats the fruit and then he gets his arm. So that's the bulk of what I'm talking about here. That could have been 10 minutes, and we may not have even had another 10 minutes. I said, we don't know jack shit about Shanks. Now, if we include the time people talk about him, and he is one of the emperors, so you can, by implication of looking at what the other emperors do, you could say, okay, he's at this level or he's at that level. And there is the interesting aspect of everybody seems to cater to him and defer to him. They have a massive amount of respect for him. Now, do they have a massive amount of respect for him because he's really good at fighting? He has a really scary fruit power? Or is it because he's a pacifist? Which, you know, I didn't clock the pacifism the first time through. You know, because I was just starting to watch the series and it was in the first 10 episodes, and, you know, they're throwing a lot at us. But when we did those flashbacks recently during the Reverie, whatever that storyline was, that kind of like blew my mind to see those scenes again after having watched 850 of these episodes. He is a different kind of pirate than we've seen any other pirate would have kicked somebody's ass for, you know, spilling drink on him, talking shit. I can't remember if he's. I don't think the dude spit on him, but like this pirate just massively disrespected Shanks, and he didn't get mad until the pirate attacked Luffy or something, right? So is a pacifist. It seems like he's a different kind of pirate. So maybe there's just a lot of respect for somebody who has a different attitude in this piracy world. We don't, you know. So he has a reputation, and you know, I just don't think what they've shown us is in any way indicative of how good of a fighter he is. So we just don't know. Now, I'm not saying that means he's the worst of the bunch, but I don't know how he can be a runaway winner when we don't know jack shit. We've seen two of the other three people fight. And so you're telling me that just based on, because you think he's cool, because Luffy looks up to him, and that's it, and the fact he's an emperor, that gives you enough information to just clearly put him way ahead of everybody else. Kadio's number 2 at 26, by the way. And then Big Mom's 3 at 16, and Blackbeard's 4 at 13%. So we put Shanks way ahead of everybody else, based on reputation alone. And I said up to and including episode 900. I said, we don't know jack shit about him. I don't know how you can do this. I don't know how you can vote for this. I mean, Personally, I would rank Shanks 3 just because we don't know anything. We don't know jack shit. Blackbeard, I agree, is fourth. I think he just hasn't had enough time to amass enough people with him, enough lieutenants who are super strong, enough ships and weapons and all this stuff. You look at Big Mom's apparatus. She's the only one where we've fully seen her apparatus. Now we're starting to see what Kadio's got going on. But so far, like Big Mom, like look at all the shit she has. See, because it's not just her fighting ability. She has some incredible, like she has 37 kids or something, or 60 kids or 50 kids, something like that. Maybe I think it's like 59 or something. It was a large number of kids. Almost all of her kids have powers of some sort and are supremely loyal to her, and they're with her, and they will fight for her. And they're kind of like getting each other's way to fight for her. That's a lot of people to take out. Like her top 5 is probably stronger than most of the people we've gone up against who are the final boss. Like, the dragon, the most powerful person in the group. I guess Doffy would be the most powerful person in his group. Carrot Top would have destroyed Doffy. And we're not even getting to the actual Emperor, right? And there's probably a couple other dudes. That flaming guy probably would have destroyed Doffy. Genie guy might have destroyed Doffy. Maybe not, but that they may be on par with each other. And that's just the top 3. We got the Squeeze a Lemon chick. And there's some of these other people, man. She's got a lot of powerful people on her side. Herself, I think, if we're just talking about just the 4 people, which the way I phrased it is kind of what we're doing here. I kind of meant more like, and now I'm approaching the question as the entire thing, the entire empire. If the empires go to war, who would win, right? That's a different question. I understand that. So I'll answer it both ways. If we're talking about empires, then you gotta say Big Mom would win, because we've seen the most of it, and what we've seen is damned impressive. I haven't seen any of Kadio's lieutenants yet who scare me. And there's 3 Big Mom's lieutenants that scare me. Blackbeard's minions are not impressive at all. We've seen quite a bit of them. And again, he and his minions got one-shotted by Poison Boy over there at the prison, right? So that's why he's number 4 to me. Like, he got washed. Luffy lasted longer than that. I mean, you got one shot and you're laying on the ground and you should have died. You know what I mean? Somebody came and saved him. I don't remember who, but somebody came and saved his punk ass. So he's the weakest. And that was him and his minions, right? Clearly the weakest. We don't know about Shanks. Kadio's number 2 for me. Just empires. And then, Big Mom's empire is just super impressive, man. You can't attack her. Her home field advantage is incredible. The fact that Luffy's group is so small and nimble on their feet, and just they got lucky, and they also had the mech people, Sanji's family in there with them, helping them, saving their ass. All that together. And there were some other combinations of luck where you just happen to have the Viv card or whatever, so that the trees will obey you, that kind of shit. All that's pretty... So the empires, if we're going with empires, I think Big Mom wins. If we're going with one-on-one, which is the spirit of the question. If we're going with just one-on-one, these 4 people, I think Kadio wins just with the information I have so far. Because here's the problem. I've said this before, while we were doing Big Mom's story arc. Anytime you have a flaw, a vulnerability, where you can just become paralyzed and just stand there and you're not doing anything, and literally somebody can come over and pick your big, fat, inconsolable ass and carry you over to the ocean and drop you in the ocean and let you drown because you can't move because you're so paralyzed with emotions. She has 2 different ways you can paralyze her with emotions. Like, it happened to her twice. Well, not necessarily incapacitate her. She has 2 different ways you can incapacitate her with emotions. One time is where she's just standing there catatonic, can't move, and she's screaming and shit. That was one of the ways. You just come over to her, pick her up, and toss her ass in the ocean. Or you can... She gets these hunger pangs, and then she's just wandering off on a target, destroying her own people and her own shit. You can ignore her and take out the other people. Now, the chances of either one of those things happening during a 4-way cage match, less likely, but I just think you cannot have that kind of vulnerability, man. You can't have where you just become catatonic or you don't have your senses with you and you go into a fugue state and you start wandering around destroying your own shit. That is a massive flaw, massive vulnerability. So it just doesn't work, man. Like it doesn't work. Like you can't be tip tops of the pops. You can't be the king of the pirates when you have that kind of vulnerability. Like it just doesn't. For me, it just doesn't work. Like I said, she can. She probably wouldn't get a hunger pain. We don't know though. We don't know what sets them off really. I mean, I mean, we have some idea. It's emotional. It's flashbacks and she was up in her feelings about the wedding and it didn't go right. And I think that's why she attached to the wedding cake. But she had that hunger pains for the eclairs or whatever that was before that. We don't know what precipitated that. And so that was 2 attacks in like 3 days. So we don't know. It could happen during the fight. If it does, she's dead. Because while she's rampaging off somewhere else, they're just going to come over and knock her block off, man. Throw her ass in the water, like I said. So, if a cage match, Royal Rumble, I don't think she wins. In that case, I would have to say KDO. With the information we have right now. So that's where I'm at. Let's go ahead and check out the comments. Wrathful Viper says, honestly, Big Mom destroys all of them. I'm going to need some elaboration on that. When you come to this video, please elaborate. Because I don't see it, man. I've explained why. I've explained my rationale. Allow you to retort. Okay, Joseph Joestar. I don't think I've ever seen that name here before. That's pretty cool. Blackbeard because he is the final villain, guess. And he would find a way. His climb has been more impressive than anybody, even Luffy. I agree with the second part of that. And he seems to have the ability to have more than one fruit power at a time, which is crazy. And here's the thing, any of these four could win and I wouldn't be like, oh my god, this is a travesty, right? Because they're all very powerful. But we're talking about tip tops of the pops, right? So, I don't see it. You'd also have to wonder, how would we organize this Royal Rumble? They can't just be all four in there at once, right? You'd probably have to do it like a Final Four, and matchups are very important. Like, maybe Blackbeard could beat Shanks, but he couldn't beat KDO. So he suddenly gets to the finals just because he faced off against Shanks. Or maybe it was Big Mom. Or, like matchups matter. So it almost had to be like a round robin. Everybody fights everybody in the first round, and then we judges decide who has the best winning record. And then the two people with the best winning record fight one more time. And, something like, I don't know how it would work. Like, if you're just all four in there, like, you got 3 of them team up on one, and that wouldn't be a very fair indication of what we're actually discussing here, which is, like, just how powerful each individual person is against the other 3. There's no real way to organize it, I don't think. But, I don't know. I mean, it's all hypothetical anyway. It would never happen this way. But, getting back to what he said, though, he would find a way. Well, anybody can find a way. What we're really asking here is, how powerful is the person in the abstract? And we're basically just going vibes here, right? Like, essentially. And what I really want to take away from this, I want to subtract how much we like the characters, right? And I know this is hard to do. You almost have to step outside your own body. Because if we're to rate these characters how much I like them, I like Shanks the most. But I'm trying to subtract that, right? I'm trying to, let's not talk about how much we like them or how cool we think they are or how great their story's been, their journey. Because, he's had a really good rise. And it shows a lot of ambition and drive, So, Blackbeard is impressive. He jumped up there pretty fast. He was sitting outside a bar on the sidewalk drinking, by himself just a couple years ago. And now he's one of the 4 emperors. So that's a hell of a rise. I mean, yeah, I agree with that. I don't know if that's enough. Like, abstractly, we're trying to make it abstract. If we could duplicate them all, so that this would be a fair thing here, and have Blackbeard fight Big Mom to death, and then restore his vitality, and have him fight KDO to death, restore his vitality, have him fight, assuming he wins, and then have him fight Shanks to the death, and then restore his vitality, because if you fight one person, you're so damaged you couldn't fight anybody else. That's why I said even the order the fights happen matter. I'm getting way into weeds, but I'm just saying, if you could do it in the abstract, who would win each one of these encounters, right? That's kind of what we're asking here. Like, who is just the most versatile badass? I think maybe even what we're saying here. Because the way you beat Big Mom is very different than the way you beat KDO, which is very different than the way you beat Shanks. We don't know much about him, but assuming you look at the way Luffy has beat some of these various people, he's super flexible, right? He's versatile. And you can say Blackbeard has some versatility, especially with having two different powers. So that's kind of what I guess if we get to the meat of it, what we're really asking are who has the most versatile powers? Big Mom doesn't really have a lot of versatility. She's basically what they call a tank, right? Like she can blow over everybody, but she has her weaknesses, she has her vulnerabilities. Water being one of them. So if you get somebody strong enough to just pick her big ass up and just throw her in the oceans that way, there ain't nothing else out there but ocean. She's done. There ain't shit she can do about it. Like she may be able to moonwalk. We may have seen her do that a little bit, but she seems to be riding other things like her cloud and her sun and stuff, and the snail, the candy snail or whatever that was. So she doesn't seem to be able to have the ability to walk on air. Can't walk on air, your ass is dead. So who has the most versatility? In that case, I don't know. We've seen we don't have enough information. I understand that, but with what we've seen, who has the most versatility? I would actually say Blackbeard, I guess. Because we haven't seen much of KDO. He seems to be another tank. He's just raw power. We don't know what his fruit power is. But he's pretty much indestructible. Like, he can't be killed, apparently, and he wants to die. We don't know shit about Shanks' powers. Maybe he just has, like, super political powers. Like, he has, people just love him, right? Maybe that's what his fruit power is. Charisma. He took the charisma fruit, and now just everybody loves him, respects him, wants to do what he asks. That could be it, right? Doesn't help you in a fight, but it sure as hell helps you in empire building, you know? And getting people to get along with each other, which is what we've been seeing him do. So yeah, I'm way too far in the weeds, and we've already been talking for almost 20 minutes on this, and a lot of people probably don't care. So let's wrap up the fighting portion of this conversation. I guess I'm going to say Blackbeard if we're talking about versatility. This one is from Invisi. Voting for Blackbeard just because the guy really never seems to lose. Did you not see him in the prison? Get one-shotted by Poison Boy? He lost like a mother. You know what I'm saying? He lost like a mug. Man, he got smoked. Washed. I'm just saying, man, it happened. I was there. I got the videotape. We can go to the videotape if you want to. He got washed. He had to have somebody come save his life. Or he'd have been dead right now. He would be dead. If he hadn't, I guess one of his minions came and saved him or something. I can't remember. He'd be dead. DOA. I'm just saying. So, yeah, he lost. Definitely being built up as an in-game antagonist. So, if nothing else, he has plot armor. Yeah. Maybe not dying from the poisonous plot armor. I don't know. I mean, I have a very different view on plot armor than most people do. It's retrospective. It's retroactive, okay? Basically, the way I look at storytelling is the way it used to be in the old days. Shit would happen, and somebody after the fact would tell you the story. Now we try to see stories the other way around. We think stories start with the beginning, and we're kind of watching them form as they happen, right? We don't look at it as this is a story that's already been told and finished, and somebody in the future is telling us this from a future perspective, right? We don't see that way anymore. That's the way all stories used to be told. It was this happened 100 years ago. Let me tell you the story. So when stories were being told that way, you wouldn't talk about plot armor. The word plot armor would never come to your mind because here's the thing. Say the story starts with 12 people. 2 of them survive. So the 2 of them survive are going to be the ones talked about the most because they're in the whole story. They're in the beginning of the story. They're in the end of the story. They survive the whole story. They go through these adventures. Whatever happens, wolves, storms, monsters, ghosts that killed off the other 10 people didn't kill off these 2 people because they got to the end of the story. And you, 100 years later, are telling this story of the 12 people turned to 2 people. You don't talk about plot armor. It's just the focus of the story is the 2 people who just happened to survive everything. It could have been any of those 12 people. You could have started with Joe, Max, Smith, Jr., Shelley, Mary, but John and Betty are the ones who lived, and all those other people died. You wouldn't say John and Betty have plot armor. You would just, those are the 2 people who survived the story. So they get the most focus in the story because they live the longest. And because the person telling the story knows, before he begins the story, he knows the two people who survived the whole thing. So he's going to give you more information on them than he gives you on the other 10 who are going to die anyway. You might even say, why are you wasting our time telling us about these 10 people who are going to die anyway? Might even be a little annoyed. What should we focus on 2 people who live? That's the way stories are constructed. So, Blackbeard survives to this point of the story because he survives to this point of the story, not because he has plot armor. If he didn't survive to this point of the story, we'd be talking about Bluebeard or Whitebeard or Greenbeard or Pinkbeard. If Pinkbeard or Orange, I think there is a Pinkbeard in the story. If Orangebeard has survived this point and Blackbeard died 600 episodes ago, we wouldn't be talking about Blackbeard. We'd be talking about Orangebeard. So he is the person who survived this long. It has nothing to do with plot armor. He's the one who survived this long. So he's the one we're talking about. If Walter White was the 37th best meth cook in the United States, there would be no story of Breaking Bad about him. It would be about Smedley Walthrop living in Florida, who's the best meth cook. And then Breaking Bad would have been set in Florida and have been about Smedley Walthrop. It wouldn't be about Walter White because he's only the 37th best. Nobody gives a shit about the 37th best meth cook. They want a story about the best meth cook. So saying it's ridiculous that Walter White, this random person in Arizona, would be the best meth cook ever, you're missing the point. The story centers around Walter White because he's the best meth cook. Not in opposition to it. Not randomly. It wasn't like a random TV show was wandering the earth, bumped into Walter White, and said, okay, I guess we'll follow this guy, and then he just happens to be the best meth cook. That's not how it happened. Because he's the best meth cook, the story is here. The cameras are here, the show is here, and we're going to watch him. Smedley Walthrop, if he was the best, we'd be down in Florida watching him. So it's not plot convenience. It's not a plot hole that he's the best. It's not plot armor. If Walter White dies in season 1, the story wouldn't be about him. It'd be about the person who didn't die in season 1. Walter White might just walk through the background of the story. You know what I'm saying? So plot armor isn't a thing. It doesn't exist. Stories are told from the point of view of the end of the story, so we're going to focus on the people who made it all the way through. And think about it like Plinko. They start with 100 balls, and they drop all the balls, and one of those balls is going to hit each number, right? So say your ball is 79, and you start with 100 balls, your cup is 79, right? And the ball that just happens to hit your cup is the golden ball, and you win the prize. And all the other cups get the white balls. You get the golden ball. You don't have plot armor or plot convenience or it's not a plot hole that you get the cup. It's just, it was random, and then whoever gets the cup, we're going to focus on that person. We don't give a shit about the 99 people who didn't get the golden ball in their cup. Might be the worst metaphor I've ever used. I'm not really sure what my point was with that. But you know what I'm saying, though? It's like, that's what this is. It has nothing to do with plot armor. I think that this has gotten twisted in fans' heads because stories don't come out finished anymore, especially on TV. Sometimes not even in a movie. The stories come out piecemeal, one episode at a time, one season at a time. You got to wait 10 years to get the whole story. If the story came out all at once, it would feel more like it's being told after the fact. So I think that's where it gets twisted in people's heads. So, that being said, he doesn't have plot armor and there's no guarantee he's going to win. In terms of power, though, I'd have to guess Shanks since he's an emperor, but they haven't really shown what he's capable of yet. He kind of just seems to wander around, agreed, 100%, and do whatever the hell he wants, my emphasis added. And no one has the balls to stop him. Like, there's a lot of implied power here. No, you're absolutely 100% right. There's something about Shanks, right? They say there's something about Mary. Well, there's something about Shanks. We don't know what it is, but he's got something. He's got what they call a je ne sais quoi, right? He's got a vibe. His charisma scores off the charts, right? There's something going on there. I think I'm on something. I pulled that out of my ass, but he may have taken the charisma fruit. Because he just has this effect on everybody, man. Luffy worships him. Even, is he working on us, the audience? Like, his fruit power is so good, it's working on the audience. There's just something about this dude, man. So, I don't know. And A lot of this could also be intelligence, by the way. Who do we think's the smartest of these four people? Well, without a question, it's got to be Shanks, right? Although appearances can be deceiving. Maybe Blackbeard's really smart. We just he looks like a moron, so we think he is, right? But I think he's not very smart because those are parallels with Luffy. Him and Luffy are pretty much yin and yang, right? Brothers from another mother. They're both dumbasses. But appearances can be deceiving. All right, this one is Hunter Stone. This is a very complicated question. By this episode, you still haven't seen KDO fight in Wano, but we do know that during the Marinefield War, Shanks stopped KDO from coming to Marineford. People keep saying that. There must have been like one line of dialogue. Somebody else was talking about how KDO was going to come in and just destroy the Navy after this all happened, right? But Shanks was able to broker peace between all parties. I don't remember that happening. Like, I must have missed a line of dialogue. But he's like the third person to say this. So Shanks is probably stronger than KDO. But again, maybe it's just a charisma. KDO's like, hey man, why don't you stay a while, hang out. We'll watch the TV, I'll break out some pizza and beer. And Shanks like, all right. And they hang out. And like KDO just likes to make him happy because his charisma score is up here. That could be what's going on. It may not necessarily have to do with power. Not everything is fear-based in this world. I'm afraid of you. Because most of these people are so arrogant, they're not going to admit that they're afraid of somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just... Even if they were afraid of Shanks, they might defy him just to prove to their men that they're not afraid of him. So I think it has more... There's something besides fear happening here. Even the five elders at least dignifies Shanks' presence, which they wouldn't do for most people, we assume. Now, I'm making a lot of assumptions here. But they seem to cater to him a little bit, which was astonishing to me. I wonder what the Secret Emperor thinks of that. Somebody said his name is Emu or something like that. I wish the author had dug a little deeper for that name, but, we'll take it. We also know that Blackbeard gave Shanks his eye scar. Did we know that? I guess we know. I'll allow it. I'll enter that into evidence. That doesn't mean a lot, but Shanks doesn't have a devil fruit, as far as we know. And if he doesn't have a devil fruit, I'll eat a devil fruit. I'll never have to pay up because we don't have them. But, I'll eat a devil fruit if he doesn't have Shanks has a devil fruit. He didn't have a devil fruit. Actually, that's true. He didn't have a devil fruit when Luffy was a kid because he was in the water, right? Wasn't he in the water? Didn't he, swim out there? I don't remember now. I've seen it twice now. Once recently. I think he swam out there to get Luffy. And didn't have... So it wasn't his charisma fruit back then making Luffy love him. So I guess I got to retract that part of my statement. Yeah, he didn't have a fruit back then. He 100% has a fruit. There's no way an emperor doesn't have a fruit. Anything's possible. But we know two of them do. We're pretty sure KDO does. I would be astonished if he didn't. So maybe he has some other magic. I don't know. But yeah, like Hunter says, as far as we know, and Blackbeard has two. So I know you'll hate this, but I have to say Blackbeard. Fair enough. But, and like I said, I've already talked about all the power scaling, what I think of the different matchups and stuff. But the bottom line is we don't know shit about Shanks, and so this is a pointless conversation as far as that goes. It's an interesting conversation, but we're not going to get anywhere, right? So that's what I mean by pointless. It's interesting. I could talk about this shit all day, but we're not going to get anywhere. So, speaking of Blackbeard, now that we have new info, I want to ask who will be the final villain, Blackbeard or the world government? Everybody seems... I don't know. I would have said... here's the thing about Law. I thought Law was going to be a much bigger part of the story from the point at which I was at where I talked about this to this point. He's finally come back. But the betrayal that I had in mind would have been a lot bigger if they had been side by side for the last 400 episodes. And they haven't been. They've actually shared very little screen time together, Law and Luffy. So, I don't know if that would have the impact I had in mind back then. So, I don't know. I mean, it would be a nice twist, and that's a twist I would do. Make the final boss somebody that was with us the whole time. It doesn't make any sense for it to be Luffy, or it doesn't make any sense for it to be Zoro or Sanji or somebody like that. Robin would be wild. Imagine Robin's the final villain. I was playing you all along. You know, that would be great. I would love something like that. I don't think the writer has the balls to do that. I mean, I can see it being law, but if we're talking about if you're just saying Blackbeard or the world government, the thing is, I believe the One Piece being revealed, like my theory has not changed. The One Piece is information. It'll be revealed and it will topple the world government. So the world government won't be here anymore. So it's not going to be the world government. Do I think it's going to be Blackbeard? It would make sense because he is the yin and yang of Luffy. He's the opposite. He's the one that, like, when Luffy was feeling a little down and Bellamy had discouraged him, Blackbeard kind of remotivated him and refocused him a little bit. They have a weird relationship. It's not, it's more like this. Most of the relationships Luffy has with people he fights are like this. They're going to butt heads. Blackbeard and Luffy are almost like this. Like, if they pass each other in just the right way, they might collide and fight. But it's not inevitable that they will fight. This is inevitable. This isn't. This is possible, maybe not, right? So, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be Blackbeard. But it would make sense. A lot of people think it'll be Shanks. Maybe the final villain will be something abstract. Like, here's a power. Are you going to take it and use it? Like, maybe I'm wrong about the sequence of events and the One Piece will be the last thing we confront. And do you take it? Do you hide it away? Do you discard it? The last villain could be ourselves. Something like that. But even still, even if that is the case, we still have a last person we fight, right? So, like, say the last conflict of the story is abstract, you still have the last person you fight. It doesn't matter how far back it is. At some point, you fought somebody for the last time. So that's what we're really asking here. Who is the last person you'll fight, no matter how much story is left? Who is the last person you'll fight? I can see him fighting somebody in his group who, like, he say he wants the power. He'll say that One Piece is like, you can have all the fruit powers at once. Every single fruit power that exists. I don't believe this, but hypothetically. Let's say the One Piece is, you take the One Piece, if you eat the One Piece, it's one. It's all the powers in one. That's why they call it the One Piece. It's one. So you take it, and you have all the powers. You'll be a god. You have every fruit power that's ever existed. All at once. And maybe everybody else loses all their fruit powers. So you're the only person in the world who has power. Would you want anybody to have that? They have all the fruit powers, and nobody else on the earth has one. So, say Luffy's, I'm going to take this. Could you see Zoro fighting him to stop him from taking it? Or Robin fighting him to stop him, especially Robin, because she would know the implications. Can you see Robin stopping him? No, I'm not going to let you do this. And that being a fight. I can. So, if it's going to be a crew member, I'm going to say maybe Robin, him and Robin fight. We haven't seen that happen. He'd probably smoke her, but, like, that might be interesting. Maybe his father, Dragon. I can see Dragon be like, nobody should have this kind of power, so I'm going to stop you. You know? Dragon would be really interesting. So, Dark Horse, Dragon. Really Dark Horse, Robin. Really, really, really Dark Horse, maybe Zoro. I don't even know if he's smart enough to understand the ramifications, but maybe Robin tells him, so he's going to stop. Everybody wants to see Zoro fight Luffy. Both of them are stubborn as hell. Neither one of them will ever quit. That would be an interesting fight. But we step outside of all that. It'll probably be somebody we haven't met yet. That would be my guess. Because I think in a lot of cases, I think there's going to be some of these people are going to take each other out. Like, we might see Shanks versus Blackbeard Part 2, and Shanks takes his ass out. That would be a wild subversion of expectations, and the author is capable of doing that. Especially if he's trying to wrap the story up in less than 10,000 episodes, right? Issues. So, I don't know. I guess if we're just saying if it has to be Blackbeard or the world government, I'm going to say Blackbeard because I think the world government is going to be toppled. If it has to be somebody outside the group, I guess I would have to say Shanks. I don't believe that either. I don't believe Shanks is going to be evil, and I don't believe he's going to fight Luffy. I would put Law up there. I know that I'm throwing a lot of names out there, but like this is not an easy question to answer. If I had to put my money on one thing, I would say the final person Luffy ever fights on the show is gonna be somebody we haven't met yet, or we wouldn't entertain, right? Maybe we met them back in episode 200, and now they come back and are really powerful now, like Bugsy. What the hell's his name? Buggy. Yeah, maybe Buggy. Would that be something? The first, the first pirate he ever fought was Fat Ass, right? The female pirate. What if the first person he fights is the last person he fights? This series is kind of doing the mirror image thing, right? Now, most of the time, the person you fight in the second half is going to be just similar to the person you fight in the first half. Daffy versus Crocodile, right? Like they're similar, but they're not the same. And the one on the right is going to be more powerful, obviously. But what if the final bookend of this mirror image thing we've been doing for so long, for 25 years, is the exact same pirate? First fight, last fight. All right, I'll put my money on that. I'm going to say whatever the hell her name is. Soapy skin chick. Maybe Blackbeard taught her how to take extra power so she has more powers than that. That'd be kind of interesting. All right, that's my final answer. Alrighty, so that is that one. I did a second poll. How well would you say the anime has adapted the material up to this point? And the reason I asked this question is I keep complimenting the author, but I'm only seeing the author through the lens of this TV show. So maybe things I praise him for are not things he did. So I was curious, and I assumed it was a really good adaptation because I don't really hear a bunch of people bitching that it's not. And it's really well done. And forgive me, but like there has to have been 4 or 5, 10 showrunners by now. And how do you have consistent quality of storytelling over 25 years or however long the anime's been on? At least 20. Unless you're just drawing from the same source. 69% of people said that some arcs are better than others. Kind of a cop-out answer. I almost didn't want to even put that on there because everybody's going to say that, Really, I think, I kind of want people to say, overall, look at the overall complete work. Is it a good adaptation or not? Because you're going to have, because it's almost like you're saying, how well did a movie adapt a novel? And one of the answers is some chapters are better than others. That's not a very interesting answer. I regret putting this on there. Because I want people to shit or get off the pot. Is it a good adaptation or not? 14% said extremely well. That is second place. 10% said pretty good considering. And then 7% of complete haters drinking that haterade said poorly. So it sounds like it's a relatively good adaptation. Any way you look at it. So in that way, I believe I could just go ahead and compliment the author indiscriminately because they seem to be adapting his work pretty faithfully. And in some cases, adding to it because you can put music to shit, and you just can't do music with manga. Susho Bansig. I know I butchered that name. To be honest, as a non-stop running anime, they had to save the budget as well as they had to be precautious as to not catch up to the manga. So that's why they had a bad pacing issue at times. But the upcoming episodes are going to be better in animation and kind of better in pacing. So just stick to it, man. And he said he loved the content. Yeah, this wasn't a question of should I quit. That's not where I was going with this. No, it was just my mind was... First of all, it's a question I've never really asked directly. Is it a good adaptation? But also my mind was just how much should I compliment the author? That was it. It becomes very clear that the anime started to pad stuff out post-time skip all the way up to even the arc you're going into. The arc after this, however, Toei has finally gotten a handle on the pacing, and that's partly due to the anime actually taking its time and even going into a 6-month break here. As someone who started to read the manga and sort of dropped the anime and stopped watching it week to week in the last 2 to 3 years, episodes have gotten significantly better with pacing. I'm really excited for the new adaptation because hopefully they will animate 2 to 3 chapters an episode. And that was SWAT Gaming 44. SWAT with a 4 in it. Yeah, that makes sense. And I know a lot of people are excited about the new anime. I'm old school. I've only even watched one episode of the live action. I'm kind of monogamous when it comes to this kind of shit. This is the anime I started with, so it's through thick and thin, baby. This is the only one for me. All right, before I go, I'm just gonna look at some comments, see if anything there's something here I should have replied to. There's a couple things people have asked me to talk about. And I keep saying I'm going to do it in a video. This would be a perfect opportunity for that. Hunter did ask, and I answered in the comments, but I'm going to put it here too. Speaking of Luffy's parents, do you think we'll ever see Luffy's mom? Will she ever be important? Do you have any ideas about her? And I said if you'd asked me a couple of hundred episodes ago, I would have said she would show up eventually, but I'm past episode 900 and her ass is absent. So I'm thinking no at this point. And that's, we're just running out of real estate here. I think we're up to 1140, 1150 or something like that in the anime. 250, less than 250 episodes from where I'm right now. I'm doing 10 to 15 episodes a week. So we're getting 10 weeks. I'm going to be within 100 episodes at the end of what they've produced so far. Just 10 more weeks. That's crazy. So I just don't feel like there's real estate. Now, like, they showed Baby Guy's flashback. I think it was only one episode, maybe at the most 2 episodes. And they did a complete ass back story for his entire ass baby character. And it was riveting. So they could totally just bring his mom in and just, hit us with a couple flashbacks. They could do it. But I don't see the opening. Like, we're in the middle of Wano. Like, unless she's there working as a gaishi or something. I don't see it, man. Like, it is possible she could be. By the way, I was watching Shogun, and they talked about the tea houses. Apparently, tea houses are a metaphor for whorehouses. So, I guess what they're saying in this show, the tea house in this show, is a whorehouse? Is that what they're saying? Is that why the big fat ass guy that Zoro almost whipped his ass? Is that what that was about? Like, he was there trying to get with her, but maybe he's broke or something? I don't know. Like, they're never going to go full horror on this show. Because, the kids watch the show. But they're going to imply a bunch of shit. Just like they've been implying Frankie and Robin are smashing. Heavily implied. Probably true. It's my head canon, and it's definitely like actual canon most likely. But it'll never be implicit on the screen. Because people don't have sex on this show. Unless it's, children resulted from it. So I guess somebody's having sex somewhere, but it's 100% off screen. The only time they came close was when they were trying to pull his nuts off back when he landed on Amazon Island, right? Other than that, they don't go there, which is fine with me. It is a kid show, but yeah. I just don't think his mom is in the cards. I'm surprised they did Sanji's family. They don't seem to give a shit about families on this show. Sanji may be the only person who has siblings. Frankie, yeah, everybody else has foster brothers, right? Like, Frankie had a foster brother. Luffy had 2 foster brothers. Wasn't Nami's, the girl Nami was with and they had the mother, wasn't that a foster mother and the girl she was with a foster sister? Is that right? Am I remembering that right? Like, it was a woman that raised them and they weren't blood relation. They were foster sisters. Usopp, I don't think had any siblings. We don't know about Zoro. Doesn't seem like he has any siblings. Like, it's all only children. They don't give a shit about blood relatives on the show, except for parentage matters a lot in the abstract. Have we seen any character interact with their father or mother other than Sanji? Any character, any of them, on screen interact with a biological parent? Not that I can remember, unless I'm wrong about Nami. I don't think that was a biological relationship. I think that was the whole problem. That's why she gave her life up, stupidly gave up her life to prove to these non-biologically related brats that she loved them. She could have easily denied them and then made it up to them later, but no, she had to admit it up front so that he could kill her, right? Dumbass. You'd rather be gone and not take care of them and leave them orphans than deny them for 10 seconds. Don't get me on that. I blame you. So I just don't think they give a shit very much about on-screen interactions with family members. I think Sanji was it. That was the entire series fill right there in one story arc. Unless I'm forgetting something. Now, grandparents, they don't seem to have a problem with. We've seen that a couple times. Definitely a lot of father figures, a lot of mother figures, a lot of found family. The show's really about found family. It's not about biological family. This show wipes its ass with biological family, other than the fact Ace's father was some notorious gangster, so let's kill Ace. If it's plot relevant, they'll do it. Dragon's father is a revolutionary. I guess, yeah, we've seen him interact with his father on screen. Now that I think about it, okay, you were probably screaming. You've already left 10 nasty comments. You were screaming at the screen when I said, "Have we ever seen it happen?" But okay, 2 minutes, and he didn't know that was his father. So, congratulations, congratulations. Yeah, yeah. I spit on that. But they do at least have the potential to run into each other at some point. I don't know why you're holding that off. Because the show doesn't give a shit. The show doesn't care if we want to see that. I kind of want to see it. I don't know we would get much out of it because the show doesn't care about it. It doesn't care that Dragon is Luffy's father, and Luffy doesn't care that Dragon is Luffy's father. So, yeah, for that reason, I just don't think we're going to see him and his mom. I don't think the show cares. Well, I can't find. There was something where somebody said something, and I said I would talk about it in the video, and I can't find it. I went back 2 months. So if that was you, if you asked me to talk about something and I haven't talked about it, just hit me with it again, and I'll have to. Maybe I'll record that ahead of time and just add it to the next Q&A. But yeah, this can be shorter than usual. We need more questions, but we're doing 2 more at least, and then I'll do one, and whenever I reach the leading edge of the whatever the story is, wherever it is at that point. So. Because I love doing these. And I love for them to be over an hour, but this will be a little bit shorter.